Good afternoon and welcome to the September 2022 DIBEL webinar. We're going to be talking about programming for pregnant and parenting teens that's currently being done by an organization called DAPI in Delaware. We appreciate that Doris Griffin, Dr. Doris Griffin, is here with us today. My name's Kay Reed. I'm the Executive Director of the DIBEL Institute, and it's great to have you with us. Next slide, please. So Esther's behind the scenes. Engineering and changing the slides, so thank you, Esther. Actually, let me start by asking all of you who are in attendance, if you would go over to your dashboard or your control panel, and if this is your very first DIBEL webinar, please raise your hand. Please raise the little hand there. This is your first webinar, please raise your hand. Okay, so a few of you. So I got ahead of myself a little bit. Let me just say, if you have technical issues with the sound, probably the best approach is for you to quit GoToWebinar and log back in, or make sure that you're not on mute. Typically that solves the problem. If it doesn't solve the problem, in the invitation you got from us is a phone number that you can call into the webinar. Another common question is, will this be archived? Yep, you bet. All our webinars are archived. Will be on our website in the next 48 to 72 hours. You're welcome to look at it again or share it with others on your team who are interested in the content. We have put in your control panel links to two videos that we're showing today. Because it's coming through YouTube and then going through GoToWebinar and coming to you, the audio may be a little off, but they're still great to watch. So if you want to see them independent of this webinar, you can do it there. We will be sending out certificates of completion on this webinar with your final email from us. So if you need to show someone that you attended, you'll be getting that. So on with the show. For those of you who've never been to the DIBEL webinar, you should know that the name comes from Charlie and Helen DIBEL, who are our founders. Charlie was very interested in young people, helping them succeed in life, and especially establish strong and healthy families. He had the good idea of not doing direct services ourselves, but instead of that, translating research into practical teaching tools that we then make available to other people who then directly reach youth. Next slide. And that means last year we had clients in every state of the country, many territories, and occasional foreign country thrown in. We're a national, independent, nonprofit organization. We're unaffiliated with any other group except ourselves. Next slide, please. You'll also see we served 115,000 youth, and we is the royal we, meaning you. And we're tagging along to enjoy some of that good feeling of having reached that many young people. So really what we're about is empowering young people to gain agency in their intimate relationships. We talk to kids a lot about sex. We talk to them a lot about job preparation. We talk to them a lot about academics, but really relationships are key to our lives, especially the quality of our lives. And we hardly ever talk to them about relationships. So what the DIBEL Institute does is by using the latest in research and really great pedagogy, make it easy for you to have those discussions with young people and not just give, oh yeah, good advice. We all have good advice on relationships, but we actually have tips and guidance that are super effective. So there you go. Okay, next slide, please. Now, our key values. We're big fans of research. We base our programs on research. We evaluate them. And what we found over time, which is interesting about relationship skills programming, and I'm sure Doris is going to touch on this, is when you teach young people to self-efficacy, to get smart about their love lives, you pull a lot of levers. And that's what our research shows us. You're pulling a sexual activity lever, you're pulling a violence prevention lever, you're pulling a workforce development lever, you're pulling a mental health lever. There's lots of levers that can be pulled with relationship education, and that's what the research tells us. We have a whole page on our website on our research, so you're welcome to surf on over there and take a look. Next slide, please. And we're also super huge fans of stable, safe, and nurturing families. These might be married families, they might be single mom or single dad families, they might be cohabiting families. What's important is that churning or transitioning for children is really minimized, and that they have safe, supportive relationships with adults in their lives. So when we at Dibble think about who we're serving, we're not only serving the young people who are teenagers now or young adults now with relationship education, we're actually serving their children. They might have children now, they might have children in the future, but by helping these adolescents, when the time is right, create healthy, safe, and stable families, we're serving those young people as well. So we think of ourselves as a 2-gen approach. Next slide. And finally, you know, we believe relationship education is for everyone, and that it just be normal. I mean, I long for the day when someone, you know, is about to get married or about to make a public commitment, and the first thing they do is sign up for the relationship education class. Just like when women are pregnant and going into labor, no one says to them, why did you sign up for Lamaze? Don't you know how to breathe? You think, oh my God, that's so smart. She's learning how to breathe so she can get through the labor. Same here. Relationship skills are learnable, and they help, and they're for everyone. So you could be young or old, gay or straight, queer. It doesn't matter who you love. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter if you've been married for a long, long time, or you're just starting out and are in puppy love. Relationship education can help, and we make sure that our materials are culturally appropriate, that they serve a diverse audience of young people, because you don't know who's in the room. And so we just, anyway, trust me, we do that. And especially we're having new updates of Relationship Smarts Plus and Love Notes, and they will be updated even more with that kind of material. All righty, next slide, please. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Doris Griffin. She has a bachelor's degree from Hampton University in psychology, a master's of education from Coppin State University, and a doctorate in education from Wilmington University. She also holds, if that weren't enough, she holds certificates in nonprofit management and faith-based community development. She is the executive director of the Delaware Adolescent Program, Incorporated, or DAPI, a statewide school for pregnant and parenting teen girls. She has a lot of nonprofit experience, and so she can, you know, write a grant, build a team, expand a program, rebrand an organization. You know, you need it done, Doris is your gal. And what she really likes to do with her students is to build leaders and help them transition from one achievement to the next. So she loves working with women of all ages and helps them to help them shine brightly in any situation. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Doris. Doris. There she is. Yay. Thank you, Doris, for joining us today. I leave you in good hands. Oh, if you have questions, sorry, I forgot this part. If you have questions, write them in the question box. I'll be monitoring that, and I'll be asking Doris during the broadcast your questions. Thank you. Take it away, Doris.
All right. Thank you, Kay. Appreciate this opportunity. Hello, hello, hello. As Kay said, I'm Doris Griffin, and it is an honor to be with you this evening for this brief period of time to talk about an organization that is near and dear to my heart. I have to tell you, I've been involved with the organization since 1994, off and on, serving in various capacities, and now having the opportunity to serve as the executive director is just an absolute dream, and I am very grateful. Next slide, please. We have just some things we want to talk about, and I'm going to weave in some questions for you to answer. So please make sure that you find the feature to the right of your screen that says the question box, because that's the place where I want you to type in your answer to any questions that I might ask you as the listening audience. If I'm awake and doing this, I need you to stay awake as well. All right. As you know, DAPI provides services to pregnant and parenting teen girls and their families. And we are becoming more and more focused on the fact that we just by the nature of our work, we work with families. If you look on the slide, you'll see our mission. And what the foundation of our work is by providing a standards-based education. Of course, we serve pregnant and parenting teens. We provide them with a unique outreach, and we'll talk about that, mentoring and supportive services. But we're doing that because we are promoting empowerment and self-sufficiency. When I walk around and I talk about DAPI, I talk about it from the standpoint of we are interested in raising a standard and not creating higher statistics. That's what we do here at DAPI. And of course, our vision statement is there. We want to empower pregnant and parenting teens to achieve their dreams for themselves and their children. Next, before we go, look on the second row of graduates, that young lady that has her arm raised on the end. Right now, that's one of our DAPI success stories that we can speak of. That young lady right there with that huge, beautiful smile on her face, she is our Newcastle County nurse. And so she is now working with us when years ago, she was a recipient of our services. And we call our students affectionately DAPI Daughters. Next slide, please. Just a little encapsulation of our history. As you can see, we were founded in 1968, but were incorporated here in Delaware in 1969. We started out in Newcastle County, but now we are statewide. So we have a location in each one of our counties. We are really working hard to ensure that once upon a time, yes, we were a national model, but we were cutting edge when we first came onto the scene. But now we recognize that there are others doing similar work, doing more creative activity, but we are still about a good work. We are still building a wall and determined to restore lives, because teen pregnancy does not have to take us out of the game. It may sit us on the sideline for a moment, but even when you're sitting on the sideline, you're watching and learning so you can get back full steam ahead in the game called life. Next slide, please. All right, we have a video, and as you said, as you heard from Kay, if it doesn't come through like we are desirous of it, we're giving you the link so that you can enjoy it at the fullness of it at a later time. So we have one video here, and then we will have one more that is more up to date. All right, Esther, I think we're ready.
Just one moment, just trying to get it to play.
Okay.
Worked just fine a minute ago, so who knows what's going on. Oh, all right, we'll try again.
I was nervous and scared at first. When I had my baby, I kind of knew everything, but I didn't have to tell me because coming here, they told me what to expect, so I knew what to expect. It gives you a good attitude, and the way it helps you succeed. Now I'm determined to do well in school. It's a lot of support. And I think that is a great place to be.
All right. Thank you so much, Esther. We have one more. Let's see if this is a lot more up to date.
Graduation is one of the important milestones in a person's life. Without DAPI, I probably would have dropped out and gave up. I want to take a moment to pause and reflect of what a tremendous moment this is for you. I just want to share how proud we are of you finishing your high school diploma. You've done something that not everyone who becomes a parent can do. You successfully juggled your family responsibilities with school and earned a high school diploma. You're graduating. And let me tell you what you know. Knowledge is power. Milestone. You all should be very, very congratulations. I'm so proud of you. I can't wait to see what's next. You rose up not just as a student, but as a mother. Keep on pushing. This is only the beginning.
You've taken a challenging situation like pandemics and pregnancy, and you've done it while not allowing anything to interfere with your education.
You control your destiny. Perseverance and a continual growth mindset will help you achieve your goals.
You are already a success, so you deserve nothing but. You are capable for creating possibilities for yourself and your life.
Make the most of every opportunity that comes your way.
You demonstrated extreme resilience and persistence in the face of many challenges in the past 2 years. For that, we are extremely proud of your efforts and wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Don't settle for less. To the class of 2021, today you rise up, tomorrow change the world. Congratulations. I promise to never, ever, forget that I am a DAPI daughter.
All right, Esther, you can stop it right there. Thank you so very much. Thank you. That last video is just a compilation of last year's graduation. We're still waiting for the one that we have coming from May 2022. But the idea is that our DAPI daughters are an extension of us. And when I go out and I talk about our organization, I always start off by asking, how many here have a daughter, know a daughter, recognize their mother was a daughter? And of course, by the time I finish asking all of my questions, everybody's hand goes up because everybody knows a daughter. And I talk about my own daughter, and I talk about how I want my daughter to drive the best, live the best, work in the best places, see the best places, go beyond the boundaries of Delaware and engage in the best activities. I want her to live a full life. And why would I want anything less for a DAPI daughter if my standard is already so high for my own daughter? And by the time we're finished talking about it, people are saying, yes, that's right. A DAPI daughter should have the best. How can we help her get the best? And friends, today, that's really the crux of this whole situation. We've got a group of young women that said yes to having a baby. And so we can't relegate them to the back row of something. We've got to invite them to the front row so that they can have an opportunity at life from the front and not the very back. Listen, our model may not be as unique as it was when our founder, Dr. Lulu Nix, was putting all the trimmings together and working with the governor at that time and finding funding and keeping funding and working with affluent families to keep the funding going. But we recognize that we are a unique operation. We are an organization that does many, many things. We are an organization that's willing to go to the wall for all young people to ensure that they have the best opportunities. What makes us unique, what makes the DAPI difference is the fact that we don't get school funding like public schools do, but we operate very similarly to a school. We have the fortune to have an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, with every school district in the great state of Delaware. And we have those relationships that have been cultivated over decades so that young people that are expecting can come and join us, participate in an actual day program, a traditional school program. You see on the screen now, we have sponsors and donors. These are just a snippet of the people and organizations that help to make it happen. We can't do it by ourselves. So we've got to go out and we've got to find folks that are willing to sow into the mission, to keep the mission moving forward. Next slide, please. Here is just a breakdown of the counties, as I shared with you, that we serve. In the executive office is in Newcastle County, along with our actual Newcastle County Center, as well as Kent and Sussex counties, all have wonderful leaders as center directors. In Newcastle County, we have Dr. Leonette Collins. In Kent, we have Mrs. Malika Pettyjohn, and in Sussex County, we have Mrs. Kim Wright. We are grateful for their leadership and their willingness to help make sure that their county is properly served with one of our DAPI locations. Next slide, please. Here is, again, education is what makes the wheel go around for us. We don't have a DAPI without our education. And in our program, we have been fortunate to receive the support of two phenomenal public education leaders that said that they would like to retire in this season and work with us. So we have Dr. Vivian Philman, who is our curriculum and instructional coordinator, and we have our special education coordinator, Bernadette Maxwell. And this, again, these women help to ensure that we are meeting the needs academically of our DAPI daughters in each location. And so they work statewide to ensure that we have what is needed. Remember I said, we don't receive the public instruction dollars from the state, and the school districts do not send us money for every pupil. We don't receive seat dollars. It just does not happen that way for us in Delaware. What does happen is that we write grants and we receive funding through the state. We have another partnership with the state that allows us to expand our outreach work that we do. So rather than complaining about what we don't have, we make it a point to take what we have and we find a way to expand it. And that means that we talk a lot about the organization. And that's why I'm so appreciative of this opportunity to be able to share with all of you, because I saw people from Arizona and California, as well as my home state of Delaware here. We're grateful that we have this opportunity, but we all have to be willing to push our sleeves up and do what we can to help young mothers. We want to make sure that it's clear that we are following a standards-based education using a blended learning process. And what does that mean? Well, that means that a great bit of what we are doing is done with face-to-face instruction. We are doing face-to-face instruction, but we might have some of the electives are done online for a DAPI daughter, but we will have a facilitator in the room to ensure that she is not left alone and that her work is continuing. We do report cards, the students receive credits, the homeschools receive the credits, the state of Delaware issues the high school diploma, everything is in order. We offer a smaller class size, and when COVID took place, just like a lot of you, of course, we had to really rely heavily to receiving the online interactions. And last but not least, the maternal health curriculum is incredibly important. That's another, DAPI difference. Every student participates in maternal health. Next slide, please. Here is a listing of our nurses statewide, and we are grateful. Our medical component is extremely important because everybody's pregnant. So we want to make sure that everybody has proper medical attention to ensure we're able to meet their needs at a moment's notice. Next slide, please. Here's just a little bit more information about the medical case management that takes place in addition to the discussions that are held and how we interact with our students. Our nurse teaches, is more like a nurse educator, and she teaches also, just like the math teacher, like the English teacher, the social studies teacher. She's teaching a maternal health class, and she's going to be talking about child development. She's going to be talking about mental health. She's going to bring in mental health providers for group facilitation, group counseling. She's going to do physical education. I mean, you don't know what you might see in maternal health, but it is all related to healthy living. Next slide, please. Again, more of the details that you would find within our maternal health curriculum. I'm sure this is not news to any of you. Many of you are working with adolescent girls. Many of you are working with pregnant and parenting teen mothers, and it runs the gamut. It runs the gamut. And we're about to talk about relationship education and how that plays a role. Next slide, please. Well, the Dibble Institute came into our lives a few years back when we started talking about wanting to do more around relationship education. I was meeting with the founder, Dr. Lulu Nick. She had come into my office along with her son, and we were talking about some potential funding opportunities. And whose name did she drop? She dropped the Dibble Institute. And she encouraged me to reach out to them, get information, and find a specific evidence-based curriculum that would do all that I desired it to do to ensure that our DAPI daughters participated in healthy living, healthy relationship building. And so in going to the website, of course, I ran across Kay Reed's name, and I ran into the curriculum called Love Notes. And we fell in love with Love Notes as an entire organization. And as a part of our groups internally for our day program, we utilize Love Notes to ensure that our DAPI daughters are learning about relationship education. It's very important that our DAPI daughters, just like my own daughter, just like your daughter, we want to make sure that they understand all of the elements that make a healthy life choice with healthy relationships. I heard Kay earlier talking about going to the website and how the curriculum is going to be updated to reflect even more changes, even more diversity, even more inclusivity. And that's why I like the Dibble Institute, because everybody has an opportunity to see themselves within the curriculum. So if you've not bothered to connect with the Dibble Institute, please make sure that you write their name down, because they definitely have something that you can use to strengthen the hearts and minds and existence of our young people. Next slide, please. Group facilitation is extremely important. We have partnering organizations that come in. This is another DAPI difference. We allow partnerships to be cultivated. Now, these are not partnerships that represent monetary contributions. These are social service partnerships where we have a facilitator to come in, or services are received, or we participate in research together. For example, you see the slide, the logo for Read Aloud Delaware. We are participating in a literacy research opportunity where our DAPI daughters are being recorded for their vocal activity in reference to how many times they interact with their babies, because we recognize that vocal tonation, those word associations, babies develop language very early, and so we want to encourage more talking to babies. Even in utero, we want that to take place. But all kinds of partnerships are essential for us at DAPI. Next slide, please. We have student services coordinators. You may refer to them as case managers or social workers, but we can't do what we do with our students internally or externally without our student services coordinators. And they do a phenomenal job of all of the case management that has to take place. So it can be anything from, making sure that WIC, has been signed up for, or making sure that college and career readiness activities are being completed. One of the things that we must have in place is a life plan. Every DAPI daughter has to have a life plan. Well, Doris, why do they have to have that? So glad you asked. Wouldn't you have done better if someone had sat down with you and said, come on, let's talk about your life. Let's talk about the pathway you selected. Let's talk about how you're going to get to where you want to be. Sure, absolutely, you probably would have done a lot better. Well, because our DAPI daughters have already had a child, we have to get them thinking about the future, and not just the future for themselves, but the future regarding their children. And so every DAPI daughter has to have a life plan. And our student service coordinators are very instrumental in creating that space, ensuring that that life plan is completed. Next slide, please. Here are more things, as I said, regarding the DAPI difference. These are the things that help to keep us moving, that keep us striving, that keep our DAPI daughters stretching to do great things. We want to make sure that our DAPI daughters know that we care about them and we're willing to go to the wall. As you can see, this year, every DAPI daughter is going to participate in SAT preparation, whether they're going to college or not, because it's necessary to continue to cultivate the mind, to continue to cultivate language, to continue to cultivate understanding of mathematical principles. It's important that no DAPI daughter, get this, be left behind. Next slide, please. We had a wonderful employee by the name of Eileen Wilkerson, along with someone that was working with her, an intern at one point, Jasmira Ross. They came up with an idea that I loved, and we have expanded on it. They came up with Adolescent Parenting Connection, and they started an outreach program that went from DAPI out into the community. Well, since they have traveled through DAPI has continued to expand and grow, and now the program has been renamed Family Connection. Well, why Family Connection? Because we touch more than adolescents that are parenting. We touch the whole family. You see, if we serve Sarah and she had a baby, and mom at home who has needs of her own sees how well her daughter Sarah is being cared for, it's not long before Sarah's mother or Sarah's grandmother or Sarah's cousin wants to get some information about one of the services that we offer, or they would like a referral to existing services. And so that's how we begin to have the entire family trusting what it is we do at DAPI. Hence the name change to Family Connection, now affectionately known as FAMCO. Next slide, please. Again, the DAPI difference through FAMCO, this program enables us to take love notes out into the community, out into schools, out into community centers. And we're not working now just with girls. We're working with girls and boys. And we're ensuring that they have an understanding about what healthy relationships are all about. Because if you're going to teach young ladies about healthy relationships, you got to teach young men the same thing. Next slide, please. More examples of community partners. We have been fortunate to receive higher education institutions have been willing to provide us with partnerships in the form of scholarships. And if you're in a neighboring state or a state far away, I would encourage you, if you don't have relationships with the higher education institutions, please go and talk to them. Please see if they would be willing to grant you a few scholarships. See if they would be willing to help partner in programming. See if they'd be willing to send you interns. See if they'd be willing to do anything to help to build up, provide self-empowerment, self-sufficiency, help to see if they can help in any way with the young people you're serving. Next slide, please. We've got a mentoring program that we're very excited about, and we are very grateful for our financial partners that continue to help us in this capacity. We need mentors. We're always looking for older women that are willing to reach into our DAPI daughter sisterhood and help our DAPI daughters to recognize that they too can make it. It's not even an option. We don't even talk about not making it at DAPI because every DAPI daughter is slated for success. We pay attention and we meet needs. We provide guidance. It is set. The only thing that can hinder a DAPI daughter is a DAPI daughter herself. And so our mentoring program capitalizes on all of that support and takes it to the next level. Next slide, please. Program goals are before you. I'm sure many of you already have a mentoring program. If your mentoring program is working, please continue to do it. Everybody needs mentoring, even as adults. If we were honest, we can all benefit from mentorship. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right, that is the end of the formal presentation. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you one question. Based on what you heard today, what is one thing that you heard about DAPI that you might not have known before we started working together today? Just type that in the question box, please. Now, Kay, I hope you're with me because I can't see any of the typing.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Great.
So what Grace and what was new to Grace was mentoring. Lacey says it's great that you're teaching them love notes. I'm sure almost everything that people heard. The life plan, that's such a great idea. That's what Tony says. The life plan was new. It feels like such a comprehensive program beyond. It's great to learn how DAPI is using love notes and other love notes. So
great. All right.
So many wonderful services, says Jasmine. Yeah, it's like, I mean, yeah. So what, I mean, those lucky young ladies and their family and their children, right? That they get your services for sure.
I think we're the ones that are blessed to have them. To have families trust us with so much of their lives, the way that they do is just absolutely amazing.
So the whole program, Yvonne says, you know, just the whole extent of your program. Andrea says working with universities, that's a great idea. And then Sharon wants to research Black Mothers in Power.
Oh yes, I've connected with Black Mothers in Power. Yeah, that's good. If you're telling me to do that, I've already connected. But if you haven't done that, come on, get on board with that.
He's going to do that. Yep. Excellent.
All right. Here's another question. What makes the DAPI difference? What's the thing that is unique? What did you hear that might be unique about DAPI's model?
Okay, they're stepping it up. Yes, yes, Grace, the slides and the video will be available in the next 72 hours on our website. So for sure. Okay. Then you can look at all her slides with all her sponsors and like go to your own state. Let's see. I hadn't heard of your program. This is Belkis. However, it seems like you've covered every area necessary for young ladies to succeed. Yes. Virginia says working with boys and girls. Joshua, that failure is not an option. Sybil, that partnerships with colleges again. And Tony, like the all in. Like we're all in. We're all here to support you. We're all in, every part of you. So
awesome.
Excellent.
I do want to share with everyone that there are two things that we're looking for DAPI to expand to. And the one thing is, one of the things in Delaware, and it might be true in other states as well, there's not enough programming for residential services for adolescent girls. And so we would love to have, and we're looking to create work in that area next, to have a residential program that would be associated with the Delaware Adolescent Program Incorporated. And then the second thing is our Newcastle County location is in need of a permanent home. And so these are challenges and struggles that we are still facing, and we're going to champion them. Those things are going to be done. But you know, if we had to talk about, you know, goals that DAPI has, those would be two of our larger goals.
So Jasmine said that something that they thought was really unique and wonderful about your program was that you involve the entire family and to ensure that they're supported. I have a question for you, Doris. How do you support? How do you work with males? How do you work with fathers?
Great question. Great question. Now, I'm a little bit old school, Kay. You know, we were talking about old shows earlier this evening privately. I believe that in order for a young man to learn how to become an adult man, we need men. We need men to model manhood. Women cannot model manhood. And so we utilize a partnership, Fatherhood Coalition and other fatherhood initiatives to handle the fatherhood piece. Regarding love notes, we look for men to come on board with us as a facilitator to work with young men. There's nothing like having a man talk to boys about becoming a man. It just, they have a language all their own. And we want to honor that bond. We want to honor that relationship by not watering it down and allowing one of our ladies or one of the young women in our organization to go out. If we have a co-ed group, you know, we don't have a problem, but for young men to have specific questions, we really want to pull in gentlemen that would be willing to work with boys.
So it sounds like you're in your direct services, in your DAPI direct services, you're working with girls. And when a father gets involved, a young man, you're working, you might have him in some the classes on love notes, but really you have found a fatherhood group that can take him under their wings.
Correct. Correct.
So here's a good question, and that's about childcare. You know, how do you manage? You know, every state, and this is Sharon from Texas saying it's an issue in her state. How do you handle childcare for these young parents?
Great question. In our Newcastle County location, we are struggling because we don't have our own building. So the first week of school ended, and we had lots and lots of babies. I'm holding babies. You know, my administrative assistant is holding babies. We were all holding babies because childcare was an issue. Our young people are very doubtful of quality childcare, and we have to take baby steps with them to say you have to use childcare. You are not going to be successful. You can't focus on your work if your baby is with you all of the time. And sometimes the DAPI Daughters mother, we have to say, didn't you use childcare when your baby came along? Okay, well, your daughter needs the same opportunity to attend school, to complete her education so that she can focus. So it is very difficult, but we are gently working with families. We do work with families while the baby is still in utero to do the preliminary paperwork. But because there have been so many horror stories nationwide about problems with daycares, problems with home daycare, family members mean well, they say they're going to keep babies, but things happen. They get tired of keeping babies. And so then that's when the baby has to come to school. And so we'll work with them gently. We'll work with them. We're working with the state right now to bring in foster grandparents so that we can have some foster grandparents to help us with holding babies. And so we are willing to exhaust measures, but the idea is to get everybody in daycare. In Kent County, we have an on-site daycare, so that's not an issue. And then in Sussex County, we have a childcare just down the road, just within feet, well, within less than a mile from where the center sits.
So some of your centers have so DAPI is supervising some daycare in one county. In another county, it's down, blocks away, and another county, you're figuring it out.
Yes, exactly.
It's inspiring to see your organization because there's lots of us in nonprofit work, and we think we're the only ones that are having bad hair days, but it sounds like you're managing it, you're juggling these things. Someplace you're ahead, someplace you're pulling along, and so it's quite inspiring. So Sharon goes back to say, it's not that students don't trust daycare, it's just there's no daycare available. There's a waiting list. So what do you do when there's, like no capacity?
Oh, okay. Well,
So Doris,
mentors, volunteers, call your local church and ask the women's group to come in and see if they don't mind coming and taking turns helping with holding babies. And it's not childcare when you don't have a childcare license, it's babysitting. Babysitting. We don't have childcare because you don't want to get in trouble with childcare licensing, saying you have something when you don't. If you have babysitting, call it babysitting. And
Right.
then we have to find ways to partner with other daycares. It is very sad to hear that there are so many waiting lists. Maybe
Right.
there's an opportunity to talk with legislators about more childcare in the area, local county councils. There could be some incentive money. That COVID money goes a long way. Maybe some COVID money could be used to convert some space into childcare settings.
Interesting. So let me just stop you and say that's very smart, the language you use. So about childcare versus babysitting. So do you have an upper age limit that the children can be, are you taking 4-year-olds or is it just really infants?
Infants up to maybe 16, 17 months. We had somebody that was 18 months in the building last week, and she was absolutely adorable. But she was at the right development age. She wanted to investigate everything. She's doing what she's supposed to do. So
Right.
we were able to encourage her mother to allow the grandmother to keep the babies so that she could continue investigating and exploring so mom could be at school working.
Yeah.
And we do have days when we invite all of the students to bring their babies. We do have those days because the girls love to show their babies off. So we do it all. We really do love our DAPI daughters, just like everybody loves their
Well,
daughter.
I liked how you set this up. Like, think about your own daughter. What are your standards for your own daughter or the daughter your niece or whoever, and what would you want? Okay, so a couple more clarifying questions. Antonio asks, so the mothers remain at their home school and they come, or are they taking all their classes at DAPI?
They come to DAPI because DAPI is their school. They come to DAPI, attend classes, have different teachers, they change classes, they have lunch, they have breakfast, they have group. Yes, they come, they leave their home school, but the school keeps the money. Let me just stress that. The school doesn't release the money to come with the student. The school keeps the money like the school is educating them when we are. So just keep that in mind.
It sounds like there's a little bit of a burr under your saddle there.
Just a tad. But we are working through it, and we have been grateful for people making donations. We are digging, trying to see if there are ways that we can secure more academic dollars. But you know what, Kay? I have to say we have been, and I don't want to get all preachy, but I just want to say we've been blessed, and I believe so long as we keep the mission, the money will follow.
Right. Good for you. Okay, so Belkis asks, have you ever partnered with churches or thought of, so if a church has a daycare program, or I was even thinking a nursery program, that they could swing into action to help. So any tips on working with local churches in daycare or babysitting?
Yes, because of where we're located for Newcastle County Center, that's a little bit of a challenge. And then the other two centers are taken care of. But that's a wonderful idea. The lady in Texas might want to take that idea, who is having some childcare challenges. But yes, we are not ashamed. I am not ashamed to ask for anything that DAPI might need.
I think you're just fearless. It's not about being being fearless. Okay, so the young ladies go every day of the school week to they aren't alternating between your school and someplace else where the money is. They're just coming to you. And then how long do they stay? Do they stay, let's say you are pregnant as a sophomore, do they stay with you till they're seniors, or do they leave when they're juniors, or what's the length of stay of a DAPI daughter?
That's the great thing. Every DAPI daughter is different. And so every DAPI daughter is going to have a different plan. If Sarah is homeless and has been in and out of school, we may keep Sarah from her 10th grade to her senior year to ensure that there's continuity. But if Mary has come to DAPI and she was an honor roll student and she was doing fine, she just happened to get pregnant, we're going to send Mary back in, after a semester or two. So we look at every DAPI daughter differently based on what her needs are. But we want to keep DAPI daughters no more than 2 years. Why? Because DAPI can make one complacent, too comfortable. And we don't want to disable a DAPI daughter so that she is not able to get back into a traditional or generalized area. We want her to get the skills that she needs, and then we want to jettison her forward so that she can be the income generating, successful young person that we want her to be.
Which begs the question, what do you do with alumni then? So now you jettisoned Mary, because Mary's doing great. Congratulations, you're out of the nest. What alumni activities do you have for girls who've moved on?
We follow a 3, 6, 9, and 12-month follow-up program. We started an alumni association not too long ago, but it kind of fell off due to interest and, of course, COVID. But we do maintain a newsletter. We have a separate Facebook page for our alumni. And we also invite alumni to come back and be mentors to our DAPI daughters. At graduation, every DAPI daughter participates in a pledge that I lead them in. And at the very end, I make them recite like 5 times, I am and will always be a DAPI daughter. And in that pledge, I talk about how don't become prideful, ask for help. We will always be here. I will reach out, just making them recite things to know that it's just like leaving your mom's house. We love you. Come back when you have a question. Come back when you can't find something. We will help you. Don't get out there and be prideful. That's the last thing we need you to be.
Wow. Wow. You are so inspiring, Doris. Thank you for your presentation today. I think we all got a lot out of it. And we just so appreciate your good work. Never mind. I'm not going to say that our girls trying to get pregnant to get into your program. That's probably bad.
Well, I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah, no, let's not do that. Let's have good experiences for young people, pregnant or not, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So next slide, please. We're going to wrap this up. So thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate that you want to learn, and we love making these things available. In the next 72 hours, we'll have this up on our website. When you log off, you're going to get a brief survey. If you have any extra questions for Doris or any other questions about DIBEL, please let us know and we'll get back to you. Next slide. So we now have, I don't know if you know about Mind Matters Now. It's a online, on-demand professional development program for adults, just like everybody who's on this webinar. And our board has found the funding to make this available for free. We have scholarships, and these are 12 hours of instruction in the Mind Matters program, led by Carolyn Curtis, Dr. Curtis, who developed the program. So it's a great opportunity for adults for professional development, and you may find some nuggets that you want to take to your students. So please take advantage of this, especially as the school year begins and we're all under stress. It's a good way to address stress and other things that make your hair go on fire. All right, next slide. So next month, October 22nd, we're having a program with Mathematica, which they're going to report on their studies of healthy marriage and relationships programs for young people, and what those are all about. So what findings they're having, and we assume they're going to be amazing. So come sign up for next month. Well, that'll be out in the next couple of days. Alrighty, next slide.
That is the last slide.
That's it. Okay, well, I'll make my own magic slide that says thank you for attending. We hope we're going to give you an extra 6 minutes off our webinar today. Oh, just a minute. We have some last minute questions. So Belkis asks, so how many students are in your program, Doris? What's the census?
At this particular moment, at the beginning of the school year, we have 36 statewide. Please keep in mind that our state observes something called the September 30th count. And so a lot of administrators statewide keep our DAPI daughters tucked away in their buildings until after that count to ensure that they receive the dollars for them attending the school. They're going to get the dollars no matter what, but sometimes when administrators change seats, they don't recognize, that they're going to get the money no matter what.
Right. Sounds like we knew some Delaware representatives. We should go to work on them on your behalf.
I would like that.
Just saying. All righty. Well, thank you. Thank you for those lucky 36 girls. Thank you, everyone who attended. Take the next 5 minutes and go walk outside and enjoy nature. And we'll see you next month. Thank you. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you. Good night.